The Seventh Adventist Church, but the Seventh Adventist Church. This is a very urgent message. A very urgent message regarding the shaking in early writings. The shaking in early writings. I saw some with strong faith and agonizing cries, pleading with God. Their countenances were pale and marked with deep anxiety, expressions of their internal struggle. Firmness and great earnestness was expressed in their countenances. Large drops of perspiration fell from their foreheads. Now and then their faces would light up with marks of God's approbation. Again, the same solemn, earnest, anxious look would settle upon them. Evil angels crowded around, pressing darkness upon them to shut out Jesus from their view, that their eyes might be drawn to the darkness that surrounded them, and thus they be led to distrust God and murmur against him. Their only safety was in keeping their eyes directed upward. Angels of God had charge over his people, and as the poisonous atmosphere of evil angels was pressed around these anxious ones, the heavenly angels were continually wafting their wings around them to scatter the thick darkness. As the praying ones continued their earnest cries, at times a ray of light from Jesus came to them to encourage their hearts and light up their countenance. Some I saw did not participate in the work of agonizing and pleading. They seemed indifferent and careless. They were not resisting the darkness around them, and it shut them like a thick cloud. The angels of God left these and went to the aid of the earnest praying ones. I saw angels of God hasten to the assistance of all who were struggling with all their power to resist the evil angels and trying to help themselves by calling upon God with perseverance. But his angels left those who made no effort to help themselves, and I lost sight of them. I asked the meaning of the shaking I had seen. It was shown that it would be caused by a straight testimony called forth by the counsel of the true witness of Laodiceans. This will have its effect upon the heart of the receiver and will lead them to exalt the standard and pour forth a straight truth. Some will not bear this straight testimony. They rise up against it, and this is what they will cause the shaking among God's people. I saw the testimony of the true witness had not been half heeded. The solemn testimony upon which the destiny of the church hangs has been lightly esteemed, if not entirely disregarded. The testimony must work deep repentance. All who truly receive will obey it and be purified. So the angel, listen. Soon I heard a voice like many musical instruments, all sounding in perfect strains, sweet and harmonious. It surpassed any music I had ever heard, seeming to be full of mercy, compassion, and elevating holy joy. It thrilled through my whole being, said the angel, look ye. My attention was then turned to the company I had seen who were mightily shaken. I was shown those whom I had before seen weeping and praying in agony of spirit. The company of guardian angels around them had been doubled, and they were clothed with an armor with their head to their feet. They moved in exact order like a company of soldiers. Their countenance expressed the severe conflict which they had endured, the agonizing struggle they had passed through. Yet their features, marked with severe internal anguish, now shone with the light and glory of heaven. They had obtained the victory, and it called forth from them the deepest gratitude and holy, sacred joy. Numbers in the company had lessened. Some had been shaken out and left by the way. The careless and indifferent, who did not join with those who prized victory and salvation enough to personally plead and agonize for it, did not obtain it. They were left behind. They were left behind. In darkness, and their places were immediately filled by others taking hold of the truth and coming into the ranks. Evil angels still pressed around them, but could have no power over them. I heard those clothed with their armor speak forth the truth with the great power of it. And many had been bound, some wives by their husbands, and some children by their parents. The honest had been prevented from hearing the truth, now eagerly had laid hold upon it. All fear of the relatives were gone, and the truth alone was as all to them. They had been hungry and thirsting for truth. It was dearer and more precious than life. I had asked what had made this great change. An angel answered, it is the latter rain, the refreshing from the presence of the Lord, the loud cry of the third angel. Now, beloved in the Adventist Church, this great testimony causes shaking amongst the Laodicean Adventists, beloved, on the health message, when they're eating flesh meat and eating dairy products, with them dancing in church and playing wild music in church and hip-hop music at Madison Mission and contemporary Christian music at Oakwood and First Church and Mount Calvary and wearing jewelry and makeup and lipstick and and tight jeans and short skirts and splits all down the middle of the skirts and all these things. The straight testimony declares is wrong, beloved. We need to fast and pray in these last days and put away sin, beloved. The straight testimony calls the shaking. That's why the Pharisees of old rebuked the disciples and said, do not preach anymore in this man's name. That's why these apostate new Pharisees and Sadducees in the Adventist church are now speaking evil of the social media ministers like Jeremiah Davis and Moses Mason before he died, and ministers like them who preach on Facebook and YouTube like Dwayne Lemon. They're speaking evil of them, beloved, because they're in apostasy themselves and they can't see the light. They can't see their apostasy. They're like the blind leading the blind, beloved. Both of them shall fall into the ditch, beloved. They're teaching new theology, once saved, always saved, no victory over sin. Jesus Christ is now the most holy place, atonement under the cross. The post-1951 position, Christ had a sinless human nature before the fall. All these things they're teaching, beloved, and is bringing them into great apostasy in these last days, beloved. And with spiritual information, contemplative prayer, neurolinguistic programming, all these different things they're teaching. Robert J. Mulholland, Invitation to a Journey, and Celebration Discipline. And these ministers are now rising and telling me just to shut up, keep my mouth shut, don't enter controversy, don't say anything, get along with them, so I can have peace and get back and finish my degree. Beloved, I am not going to shut up. I am not going to shut up. I'm going to preach the truth, beloved, even if it costs me my life, even if it costs me my ministry, even if I lose my ability to teach and organize Seventh-day Adventist churches. I'm going to preach the truth. Women should not repent in church. They should not do this, beloved. It's an apostasy of latter times, beloved. I'm going to preach these things. I'm going to preach health reform and dress reform and education reform, true education, no papal education, basically moving from a drug-free medication program to a fruits, nuts, grains, and vegetables, plant-based diet, and natural herb remedies and hydrotherapy to heal disease. I'm going to preach these things, beloved, because it's a truth for these last days. You need to preach these things as true gospel medical ministers and ministers in these last days, and not be afraid to declare the whole truth. Even if it costs me not being a minister in the organized churches, beloved, we need to continue to give the straight testimony and not be afraid of the consequences. Maranatha, beloved. Happy day. God bless.